Hello people of the internet, it is Eclipse, and welcome to Melting Skies, Chapter 14. Without further ado, let's dive in. It had been a whole year since Monix and Clavette had fully rid the ghosts from their mountain. They had underestimated the distance needed to reach the highest peak, to say the least. They had been trying all that time to reach the very top, but the center mountain spire was so huge, they had nearly gotten lost on it more than once. Regardless of the season, the closer they got to the top, the colder it got. Clavette had even said that she saw snow further up that they both had yet to reach. Both of them were considering trying to move their den temporarily to another location further up in the mountain to better their chances. But, as Clavette said, "That's cheating. You should be able to just do it." Monix seemed to fall in love with Clavette even more as time went on. The one-eyed adventurer had a knack for telling jokes on the fly, always breaking Monix out of her thoughts to laugh with her in the moment whenever her mind seemed to wander. It wandered a lot. Even after purifying her life of Rigian, she still sometimes grieved the friendship they once had. He was so sweet then, so soft. Even though he wasn't that way anymore, she couldn't help but miss that part of him that added so much to her lonely life in that pack. Strange as it was, Monix thought he was beautiful until she actually saw what he looked like. The blind one also had irregular encounters with voices whenever her mind was clear. Zadori, Hersha, Marble, Aquamarine, and even Lavari? Calling her name, sharing thoughts and feelings she couldn't quite make out. The closer she got to the highest peak, the louder those voices got. Whenever she felt she was floating too high off of the surface, Clavette would be there to bring her back down to the ground. Similarly, whenever her love got too caught up in the present, Monix would be quick to raise Clavette's awareness to things beyond what was right in front of her. Whenever they ran together, it felt like their hearts beat together in song as the world sped by around them. Monix couldn't get enough of it. Monix woke up to the smell of rabbit as Clavette repeatedly poked her side with her nose. Clavette, cut that out. It tickles. She quickly rolled out of the nest and ate the rabbit with her love, as Clavette shuffled constantly on the other side. "So, Miss Squirmy, what do you want to tell me? You sound like you're a dam about to—" I just have this really good feeling about today, and I think we should finish breakfast fast so that we can run to the highest peak of the mountain, Sheesh, Clavette, okay, I'm up, I'm ready. Monix swallowed the last bit of rabbit as Clavette took off out of the den with the blind one right behind her. They had attempted it enough times for Monix to know the way by heart. In 2 or more paces, they were going to veer right and take the steep hill. She felt her heart flying as her legs pounded against the hardened ground. She loved running. Her paw steps matched almost perfectly with Clavette's as they both panted alongside each other, making a crashing wave as both of them leapt over the little dip in the land at the very top of the hill before charging up the next incline. Their panting started to grow hoarse as they both tried to outpace one another. "I am totally beating you to the top of this ridge." Monix could tell Clavette regretted wasting breath to tell her, as she coughed and sputtered for air a heartbeat later, slowing down the slightest bit to catch her breath. Monix also regretted it as she laughed at her lover's folly, losing some of her breath in turn, and concluding in them both falling side by side again, gasping for air. When they reached the top of the ridge, it was clearly a tie. Both of them stopped to rest while they were still on somewhat flat ground, panting heavily next to each other. This is what made Monix feel alive, the pounding of Arupa's hooves resounding in her chest as it felt like her heart grew enlarged and heavy. After a few more pounding heartbeats, they started running again, at a slightly slower pace to endure the long journey together. Nothing was said between them as they repeatedly fought gravity to get higher in the air. They didn't need to say anything. Monix felt the sun bathing her pelt in glory and clarity as birds flew around overhead. But most importantly, she could hear Clavette right next to her. She could smell the distant wisps of the golden valleys, as well as the slight change in scent hue as the grass under their paws was flattened. As both of them continuously ran uphill, Monix didn't find herself as tired as she usually was. And Clavette seemed to have also picked up on this energy, as her pace also ceased to slow down as time bent around them, becoming one with them as they leapt ever upward, as if being carried to the heavens. They flew by multiple resting spots, without a word to one another. Both of them felt it, and they were going to use it. This continued for time unmeasured, until Monix and Clavette both froze at the sound of a crunch. The warmth of their paws was withering something underneath them, making them both sink slightly until their paws reached the tough rock that they were used to. Steam rose from where they stood, and as Monix's heart beat fast, she recognized the overwhelming temperature leaking into her paw pads. Cold. Very cold. Clavette? She panted. Are we at the snow? Yes! Clavette panted happily and gave Monix an affectionate lick before trotting several steps forward. It's densely packed over here, but we should still be careful. It can give way to large holes that we can't see. Monix smiled and followed in Clavette's paw steps as she was uncertain of the ground around her. They had never gotten this far before. She was certain that if she stopped moving, her exhaustion would catch up with her. So she was quick to follow her love, staying right behind her. What does the sky say? She murmured excitedly as Clavette made calculated steps to increase their safety. It says we have plenty of time. Monix could hear the smile in her voice. They carefully made their way up the snow-covered tips as Monix's heart lifted with hope. They would make it this time. Clavette was right. I see the peak! Clavette howled with excitement, but refused to run on the unknown snowy terrain, though she couldn't help but give a small body shake as Monix chuckled behind her. Monix loved that part of Clavette that would show itself every once in a while, a tiny part of that little puppy that never grew up within her. Great stars, she was adorable. The blind one tried to keep herself from swooning over her precious, as Clavette took the last final steps and stopped. Monix quickly trotted next to her, but before she could sit, Clavette whined. Hold on! Clavette whimpered, and Monix soon heard the sound of quick swishing under where she was going to sit. There! Now there's no snow there. Now you can sit! The black-furred she-wolf sat with a smile. Such a gentle lady. Have you ever considered being my mate? Clavette and Monix both gave a hearty laugh before leaning on each other. Clavette took in the sights, and Monix took in the smells and sounds as they sat in triumph of what they had accomplished. We did it, Monix! Clavette sighed happily and nuzzled into Monix's smooth, glossy fur. Monix. The voices were loud. The voices were clear. Monix did her best, to perk her ears toward them as her face grew blank. Monix, she has to leave.
Yes.
Tell her to go home.
She has to.
Monix's mind filled with questions. Who were they talking about, Clavette? She wouldn't do that. Clavette had run away for good reason, and she wanted her to stay with her.
We know you love her.
But she must go. Why can't I go with her? She thought to herself.
Maybe you will.
Maybe you
But
will.
either way, she has to go back.
Monix felt a strange pull in her chest as the voices insisted. Her heart wasn't beating right. No, I won't do that, her thoughts answered, disregarding her body's reaction to the voices.
At least tell her.
Yes, tell her when the time comes. Go back home.
Go
Return.
home. Go home.
Go. Return.
Tell her.
Monix winced as the voices overlapped and got louder, her ears swarming from all the stimulation until it felt like they were on fire. She yelped and held her ears with her paws pressed to her face. Monix! Clavette's voice silenced the others as the overwhelmed she-wolf looked up in her direction. What was that? Are you okay? Clavette held her closer as Monix tried to calm her breathing, shaking a little. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm with you. Monix's heart finally stopped skipping like a broken record and fell back into some semblance of a rhythm. They stayed there for a long time as Clavette described the scenery for Monix. From a higher altitude, Clavette could almost see past the vast mountains on the other side of the Golden Valleys, to the great green valley of her home. Monix's urges to relay the message kept bubbling under the surface, but she knew it wasn't the time yet. They spun around and took in all the surroundings, as they could observe in all directions while that high. Apparently, the lands of Monix's old home were visible as well. At least, the great cliff that marked the edge of the territory was. Clavette described things in all directions, and by doing that, helped Monix stay in the moment as they both bathed in their victory and love. The wind was whipping every which direction, with scents from what Monix could only guess was all over the world. She could smell straw, wood, distinct human scents, as well as other creatures that she had never heard of or met before. As time went by, the lovers groomed each other, cuddled, and even boldly spread their scents on top of that peak. It was truly their mountain now. Monix could vaguely hear the hushed whispers of running water just underneath where they were. It sounded muffled, but definitely there. Hey, Clavette, what's underneath us on the other side? Is it just a steep cliff? Monix heard Clavette walk over and slightly gasp as her pause came to a halt. No, it's a cave! The snow, it's melting inside and going down. The blind one smiled as she heard Clavette slide down to the other side and quickly followed just where she had heard her. This is the start of Heart River! Monix took a whiff of the air from Clavette's comment, and the taste in the air was identical to the cold, fresh water that leaked out from the rock further down the mountain. Both of them took a long drink and shivered at how frigid it was, but almost couldn't get enough as the snow melted into their mouths like gifts from deities. Monix sighed peacefully as she heard the tiny trickles of melted ice paths slowly grow larger into a roar that echoed throughout the inner cave systems of the largest spire. It was beautiful, how this large base for the mountain supplied its inhabitants with life through the water and the heart fruits it produced. They finally started the trip down to their den after thoroughly celebrating their success, being careful not to fall from the steep slopes. As soon as they did reach their den, the exhaustion that their bodies had failed to feel earlier overwhelmed them, and they quickly fell asleep. That was Melting Skies, Chapter 14. As we're nearing the end here, friends, let me know which series you would like to see next. There are other stories connected to Clavette's Refuge and Melting Skies, such as Broken Chains, Beauty's Definition, and Olive's Path. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. See you on the other side.